Hello, good morning, and welcome to today's how-to video for parents. I am Karen Lock-Culp. I am the creator of the We Turned Out Okay podcast and website. A lot of resources over at WeTurnedOutOK.com for you if you're struggling with things like the subject of today's video, which is about picky eating and how to help your child not be a picky eater. I've got 3 ways for you today to stop the picky eating. And I'm going to jump right in. The first way is to give kids the choice, basically give them choices at meal times. Um, Try and put out a few dishes and make some of when I talk about dishes, it doesn't have to be like a stressed out, you're not creating 8 different things. What you're doing is you're setting the strawberries that you washed in this dish and the spaghetti over here, plain spaghetti or whatever, and the sauce over here so that everybody can choose what they want. And that includes us. So as long as we try to have at least one thing that a kid is comfortable eating, and then we have some other dishes that they're maybe less comfortable with or that they haven't tried yet, putting them out there and eating them ourselves and just talking about how good they are, not in a lessony way, but in more of a like, oh my God, I just need some more strawberries because they're so amazing. Um, and giving kids the choice about what they can put in their mouths. That is the first way. That is a huge way. And by the way, these come from partly from my own learning and experiences, but also from a recent guest on We Turned Out Okay. Her name is Jacky Lamenzo. She is a picky eating coach, not just for kids, but for parents as well. And she knows how to stop picky eating because she was a picky eater into her adulthood. And it was going to China that helped her, that was really life-changing for her. She spent a year in China and she had to figure out some way to eat while she was there because Chinese food in China is completely different from the restaurant kids menu that Jacky talks about, that she had basically eaten off of all of her life. So chicken nuggets and plain pasta and those kinds of things. Were what Jacky had always eaten. And what she does when she goes to China is basically these 3 things are the things that come from that interview. So thank you so much, Jacky, if you're watching. These really meant a lot to me and to our listeners, and now I get to pass them on in video form as well. So the first one, give kids choice. Jacky talks about her very first meal in China was a whole bunch of completely unfamiliar dishes on a lazy Susan, and just you could spin the lazy Susan to get wherever you wanted to get to what looked interesting. And that actually brings me to the second one, which is make it fun. This was a way that she had never eaten before. She'd never had the opportunity to look at a dish and go, okay, that looks interesting, and turn the lazy Susan to where she wanted, and take what she wanted, as much as she wanted or as little. Like, she could try these things. It wasn't mandatory that she have any number of pieces of vegetables or whatever. So giving kids choice is the first one, and that's a part of that, letting them choose their own portion sizes. Making it fun. So the other thing that made this really fun for Jacky was chopsticks. She had never used chopsticks. There were no forks. She had to figure out how to use chopsticks, and that was very fun to her. It completely, it was like a shift of, there's a really long word that I'm not remembering that means this, but a paradigm, that's what it was. It was a paradigm shift. She didn't any longer, it was completely out of her frame of reference, and that made the whole thing just fun. So chopsticks are one way. We have used in our house when the kids were growing up. I used to make these things called lunch volcanoes, which basically was, if you can imagine a square sandwich that you would cut into triangles, and then you stand the triangles up sort of so that they make like a little square of pointy, you get the 4 points sticking up. And in the middle of them, I would place a dish of some pre-agreed upon food. Sometimes it was potato chips. Sometimes it was strawberries. Sometimes it was sliced bananas. Sometimes it was pickles. Like, whatever worked with the meal and whatever they wanted was what went in that bowl. And they still today, my kids are 14 and 18, and they'll be like, oh my God, lunch volcanoes, they were so much fun. So find the fun in it. And it doesn't have to be, you're not making waffles that are in specific shapes or like trying to do something that's really time consuming and frustrating. just slice up the sandwiches differently, hand out chopsticks instead of forks. Like it can be fun in easy ways. So that's number 2. And number 3 is cultivate a relaxed atmosphere. So Jacky talks about how no one had any expectations of her at this table with the lazy Susan and the chopsticks. It was completely up to her what she chose to eat. And no one, there were no judgments on that at all. And it really did create a very relaxed atmosphere where she was like, oh wow, like she was pleasantly talking to the people around her, and no one is bugging her about the kind of her food choices or whatever. No one is saying like, oh really, you didn't want any of those noodles over here, you only wanted, like, there was none of that. It was just everybody's respected, and the focus is on enjoying ourselves at this meal and not on every bite of food that Jacky was putting in her mouth. And so if we can cultivate a relaxed atmosphere, this is so helpful. And again, I have found this to be helpful in our home, with the boys growing up, because one of them especially was a very picky eater when he was young. And once we started to bring in a relaxed atmosphere, and particularly the choice, that was just so helpful. Like, it made mealtimes fun, and it was helpful in terms of stopping the picky eating. We were basically treating them as beings who could choose for themselves and who had thoughts and stories to contribute at the table. And that was really helpful. And that made it a lot more fun, but we were also bringing in fun with things like lunch volcanoes or chopsticks or whatever. So those are these 3. I incorporate these in a slightly different way, some of them, into a free guide that I offer. I call it 5 ways to handle a picky eater, but really it's actually 6, because there's a bonus 6th one. And what I've done is I've created a short video and a checklist. And within an hour, you can read the checklist and you can watch the video. And then at the next meal, you can be putting these into practice and really understanding and just getting a lot less picky eating in your life and a lot more enjoyment out of your time with your kids. These 6 turn out to be really about cultivating relationships. And if that seems like a difficult thing for you, and you just want some help with it, well, please go to WeTurnedOutOK.com/picky. The link is just below in the show notes, and you can get that free guide. As I said, it's absolutely free. I just want to get you this information, and signing up for it will also get you into the We Turned Out Okay email group. And that means that every week you'll get a weekly parenting newsletter from me. Actually, my most recent one, was about when I was the picky eater, because I had never thought of myself as a picky eater. But the more I learn about like picky eaters, the more I realize I was totally one, and what that was like in growing up in my family. And yeah, so join for all those reasons. Join the email group for all those reasons, so you can get the free guide, so that you can get that weekly newsletter, and just so that you can start having, good ideas, interesting ideas, tools for you, so that you can have a good relationship with your child and get rid of some of the crummy stuff that we all do have to deal with. But framing it in a way that makes family time fun. That's what I want for you. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm Karen Locke-Culp, and I'm so glad that you are here. If you like this video, please just click share, share it with a friend, and subscribe, because I do these every Thursday, and then you will never miss an episode. All right. Cheers. Bye.